6 main benefits of the keto diet. 1. Weight loss. Of the many benefits of a keto diet, weight loss is often considered no. 1. As it can often be substantial and happen quickly, especially for those who start out very overweight or obese. The 2013 study published in the British Journal of Nutrition found that those following a keto diet achieved better long-term body weight and cardiovascular risk factor management when compared with individuals assigned to a conventional low-fat diet, i.e. a restricted energy diet with less than 30% of energy from fat. A 2014 keto diet review published in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health states, one of the most studied strategies in the recent years for weight loss is the ketogenic diet. Many studies have shown that this kind of nutritional approach has a solid physiological and biochemical basis and is able to induce effective weight loss along with improvement in several cardiovascular risk parameters. In part, keto diet weight loss is a real thing because high-fat, low-carb diets can both help diminish hunger and boost weight loss through their hormonal effects. As described above, when we eat very little foods that supply us with carbohydrates, we release less insulin. With lower insulin levels, the body doesn't store extra energy in the form of fat for later use, and instead is able to reach into existing fat stores for energy. Keto diets are high in healthy fats and protein also tend to be very filling, which can help reduce overeating of empty calories, sweets and junk foods. For most people eating a healthy low-carb diet, it's easy to consume an appropriate amount of calories, but not too many, since things like sugary drinks, cookies, bread, cereals, ice cream or other desserts and snack bars are off limits. Often caused by lymph node removal or damage due to cancer treatment, lymphedema occurs because there's a blockage in the lymphatic system and results in the swelling in leg or arm. A 2017 study involved patients who suffered from obesity and lymphedema and who embarked on an 18-week ketogenic diet. Weight and limb volume was significantly reduced. Polycystic ovary syndrome (PCOS) is the most common endocrine disorder, and it affects women of reproductive age. Symptoms include obesity, hyperinsulinemia and insulin resistance. A pilot study took 11 women through 24 weeks of a low-carbohydrate ketogenic diet, 20 grams or less per day. Among the 5 who completed the study, they lost 12% of their weight on average and reduced fasting insulin by 54%. Additionally, 2 women who previously experienced infertility problems became pregnant. 2. Reduce risk for type 2 diabetes. This process of burning fat provides more benefits than simply helping us to shed extra weight. It also helps control the release of hormones like insulin, which plays a role in development of diabetes and other health problems. When we eat carbohydrates, insulin is released as a reaction to elevated blood glucose, an increase in sugar circulating in our blood, and insulin levels rise. Insulin is a storage hormone that signals cells to store as much available energy as possible, initially as glycogen aka stored carbohydrates in our muscles, and then as body fat. The keto diet works by eliminating carbohydrates from your daily intake and keeping the body's carbohydrate stores almost empty, therefore preventing too much insulin from being released following food consumption and creating normal blood sugar levels. This can help reverse insulin resistance, which is the underlying problem contributing to diabetes symptoms. In studies, low-carb diets have shown benefits for improving blood pressure, postprandial glycemia and insulin secretion. Therefore, diabetics on insulin should contact their medical provider prior to starting a ketogenic diet, however, as insulin dosages may need to be adjusted. 3. Reduce risk of heart disease. The keto diet can reduce the risk of heart disease markers, including high cholesterol and triglycerides. In fact, the keto diet is unlikely to negatively impact your cholesterol levels despite being so high in fat. Moreover, it's capable of lowering cardiovascular disease risk factors, especially in those who are obese. One study, for example, found that adhering to the ketogenic diet and keto diet foods list for 24 weeks resulted in decreased levels of triglycerides, LDL cholesterol and blood glucose in a significant percentage of patients, while at the same time increasing the level of HDL cholesterol. 4. Help protect against cancer. Certain studies suggest that keto diets may starve cancer cells. A highly processed, pro-inflammatory, low-nutrient foods can feed cancer cells, causing them to proliferate. What's the connection between high sugar consumption and cancer? The regular cells found in our bodies are able to use fat for energy, but it's believed that cancer cells cannot metabolically shift to use fat rather than glucose. There are several medical studies, such as two conducted by the Department of Radiation Oncology at the Holden Comprehensive Cancer Center for the University of Iowa, and the National Institutes of Health's National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, for example, that show the ketogenic diet as an effective treatment for cancer and other serious health problems. Therefore, a keto diet that eliminates excess refined sugar and other processed carbohydrates may be effective in reducing or fighting cancer. It's not a coincidence that some of the best cancer-fighting foods are on the keto diet food list. 5. Fight brain disease and neurological disorders. Over the past century, ketogenic diets have also been used as natural remedies to treat and even help reverse neurological disorders and cognitive impairments, including epilepsy, Alzheimer's symptoms, manic depression and anxiety. Research shows that cutting off glucose levels with a very low-carb diet makes your body produce ketones for fuel. This change can help to reverse neurological disorders and cognitive impairment, including inducing seizure control. The brain is able to use this alternative source of energy instead of the cellular energy pathways that aren't functioning normally in patients with brain disorders. A related clinical diet for drug-resistant epilepsy is called the medium-chain triglyceride ketogenic diet, in which MCT oil is extensively used because it's more ketogenic than long-chain triglycerides. Another dietary therapy for epilepsy called low glycemic index treatment, LGIT, was developed in 2002 as an alternative to the keto diet. LGIT monitors the total amount of carbohydrates consumed daily, and focuses on carbohydrates that have a low glycemic index. Clinical improvement was observed in Alzheimer's patients fed a ketogenic diet, and this was marked by improved mitochondrial function. In fact, a European Journal of Clinical Nutrition study pointed to emerging data that suggested the therapeutic use of ketogenic diets for multiple neurological disorders beyond epilepsy and Alzheimer's, including headaches, neurotrauma, Parkinson's disease, sleep disorders, brain cancer, autism and multiple sclerosis. The report goes on to say that while these various diseases are clearly different from each other, the ketogenic diet appears to be so effective for neurological problems because of its neuroprotective effect, as the keto appears to correct abnormalities in cellular energy usage, which is a common characteristic in many neurological disorders. In mouse models, a study showed that a keto diet could slow disease progression for both ALS and Huntington's diseases. In fact, more than one animal study has discovered a potential benefits of the low-carb, high-fat diet or intermittent fasting in delaying weight loss, managing glucose and protecting neurons from injury. Interestingly, it's also been shown to slow disease progression in mouse models of both ALS and Huntington's diseases. Researchers believe that the ketogenic diet can also help patients with schizophrenia to normalize the pathophysiological processes that are causing symptoms like delusions, hallucinations, lack of restraint and unpredictable behavior. One study found that the keto diet led to elevated concentrations of kynurenolic acid (kyna) in the hippocampus and striatum, which promotes neuroactive activity. Some studies even point to the elimination of gluten as a possible reason for improved symptoms, as researchers observed that patients with schizophrenia tended to eat more carbohydrates immediately before a psychotic episode. Although the exact role of the keto diet in mental and brain disorders is unclear, there has been proof of its efficacy in patients with schizophrenia. And, to boot, it works to reverse many conditions that develop as a side effect of conventional medications for brain disorders, like weight gain, type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular risks. More research is needed to understand the role of the ketogenic diet in treating or improving schizophrenia, as the current available studies are either animal studies or case studies, but the benefits of a low-carbohydrate, high-fat diet in neurology is promising. 6. Live longer now. There's even evidence that a low-carb, high-fat regimen, as the keto diet helps you live longer, compared to a low-fat diet. In a study by the medical journal The Lancet that studied more than 135,000 adults from 18 countries, high carbohydrate intake was associated with higher risk of total mortality, whereas total fat and individual types of fat were related to lower total mortality. Total fat and types of fat were not associated with cardiovascular disease, myocardial infarction or cardiovascular disease mortality. In fact, saturated fat intake had an inverse association with the risk for suffering from a stroke, meaning the more saturated fat someone is consuming on a daily basis, the more protection against having a stroke they seem to have. The keto diet also appears to help induce autophagy, which helps clear damaged cells from the body, including senescent cells that serve no functional purpose but still linger inside tissues and organs. In animal studies, when rats are put on the ketogenic diet, autophagic pathways are created that reduce brain injury during and after seizures. In fact, inducing autophagy is now a popular biohacking technique for helping remove signs of aging poorly, and keto is one way to get there.